असतो मा सगमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतङ्गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ. O Lord, please lead us from unreality to the reality, ignorance to the knowledge, and from death to immortality. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Dear devotees, if you remember, we were discussing in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, once the mind is controlled, what happens? The Patanjali said, Tada Swarupa Drushta Avasthanam. When Yogaschittavritti Nirodha happens, when the mind is under control, or when all the mental fluctuations has been arrested, then he stays in his Swarupa. He stays in his original form. Now, here we have to understand it very carefully. He stays in his original form means he and the original form or original state, they are not two things. There's only just pure awareness or pure consciousness. And the Patanjali speaks or he uses the term Purusha. He as a Purusha, he stops misidentification with the world and its objects and is with himself. Like it is like we go to a picnic or a party or a maybe tour. I visit different places. Sometimes I enjoy, sometimes I'm feeling okay, sometimes I feel not very good. So having different type of experiences, I come back to my house, my residence, and I feel, Appa, I've come back, I'm back to my house, now I can rest. So like this, the Purusha does a life journey and afterwards he understood and he controlled the mind, he emptied the mind, and now he's staying with himself. That is the goal of the yoga. So once it is attained, fine. Now the yogis who have attained this state is fine. Now Patanjali is also, is also bothered about the people who have not attained. Now, if your mind is not fixed on the God, or if your mind is not fixed on the self, then what happens to us are such people whose mind is not fixed. So in the fourth sutra, he says, Vritti saropyam itaratra. Itaratra means otherwise. Vritti saropyam means we are identifying with the fluctuation. I saw a message in my mobile. My mind has been identified, or I have identified with this fluctuation or with the message. Then I saw a small documentary. So my mind is fixed or carried over, or I have carried over with that fluctuation with the video thought. Then I'm hungry. I am eating. So my mind is on the food, or my mind has got the thought food as a content, and I have got attached with the thought food. So when the mind is not fixed on the self, or from the Patanjali point, when the mind is completely where it is not arrested, the fluctuations is not arrested, then for such people, such minds, what happens? It gets identified with the fluctuations. So now fluctuations, when we say vritti saropyam, vritti, so what type of fluctuations? How many type of fluctuations, if you ask? The Patanjali says, vrittayaha, panchatayaha, klishta, aklishtaha. The mental fluctuations, I have got thousands of mental fluctuations. Good, bad, right, wrong, or constructive, destructive, and neutral. These are all we can categorize our mental fluctuations, mental thoughts in this way. Now, he is also discussing, or rather is classifying all our mental fluctuations into two types. One is klishta, the other is aklishta. Klishta means it is detrimental or harmful. And aklishta means non-detrimental or it is harmless. It is not damaging. So all type of mental fluctuations or the thoughts has been broadly classified into detrimental and other is non-detrimental. And they are fivefold. So some are detrimental, some are non-detrimental, and they are in totally, they are fivefold. So all of our mental thoughts has been classified into five groups or two categories into five groups. This is what the Patanjali's understanding about the vrittis or the fluctuations of the mind. Now the question might come, Swamiji, now Patanjali says very clearly why I am discussing the yoga. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. The goal of yoga is what? To have the mastery over the mind. Okay. Now, the person who has got mastery over the mind, he establishes himself in the self or in the Purusha. Okay. And if a person is not established in the Purusha, his mind is in the world or in its objects. This is also understood. Now, why should we discuss all these things? Because it is our day to day experience. He could have gone how to control the mind. And why is he speaking of vrittis, different type of mental fluctuations and all? So why it is being discussed here? So for us to know whatever the natural our mental state, we have taken it for granted, whether it is a detrimental or non-detrimental, we have to know. When we have to, the scripture is telling, or Patanjali is trying to explain us so that we can come out from detrimental to non-detrimental, and it is completely arresting our cessation. So understanding our present nature, and we have to go to the nature which we have to achieve or attain. For that, he is discussing all these things. After discussing around in 6 or 7 sutras, in the sutras he discusses, then afterwards he comes to that how to control it. Abhyasa Vairagyam Tannirodha, Abhyasa and Vairagya. Practice and detachment is the only means to control the mind. That he discussed from the 13th sutra. Now he is discussing about the different type of mental fluctuations from the 5th or 4th sutra. Now let us try to understand. So from the 1 to 5, from the so in the first pada, that is in the first chapter, sutra number 5 to sutra number 12, he discusses about different type of vrittis. Vrittis means mental thoughts or waves. Like, for example, lake. If you consider the lake as a mind, in the lake there are ripples, there are small waves. These waves are considered as the mind, as a chitta, as a lake. If you consider, then the ripples are small waves, smaller big waves is considered as vrittis, mental modifications. So the water is appearing as a wave. So similarly, the mind is appearing as the mind is fluctuating as a vritti based on the content. Now, how to control the mind is being discussed in the from sutra number 13 to 16. That we'll be taking the in the next class. Now, I said in the last sutra there are detrimental and non-detrimental fact vrittis. So, on what basis? Why the Patanjali he is classifying the mental fluctuations into two categories? One is detrimental and non-detrimental. On what basis? What is the rationale behind here, if you ask, which is conducive to our spiritual life? They are all non-detrimental. Which are not, which are harmful to our spiritual life, they are all detrimental in nature. So, in our natural, in the worldly sense, they may be non detrimental, but from the spiritual point of view, they may be detrimental in nature. So, which is conducive to practice of yoga, they are all non detrimental, which are not conducive to practicing the spiritual life or yogic life, they are all detrimental in nature. So, detrimental is what? Klishta, and non detrimental is what? Aklishta. So the detrimental vrittis or the mental fluctuations culminate in the bondage. It brings bondage for us. It brings suffering for us. And these are dominated by rajas or tamas in generally. Then the aklishta vrittis, that is the mental fluctuations which are non-detrimental, harmless in nature, they bring freedom. Why? Because they are dominated by sattva guna. Now, very one or two important points out of the way, I will go and tell you. Now, karma itself doesn't bring bondage or doesn't bring freedom in itself. This is we have to understand very clearly. Only when it is with the intention, when it is mixed up with the intentions, it is being considered which can create a bondage and which can create freedom also. The Sri Ramakrishna gives a simple, beautiful example is what? Knife. Someone uses the knife to cut the vegetables. Someone uses the same knife to kill a person. Now, a person is used the knife to cut the vegetables, and a person used the knife to kill a person. Is there any sin, or is there any good or bad for the knife? No. It is only on the person who is using, how he is using. That's where it comes intention. So a karma and action is neither creates bondage nor freedom in itself. It only depends on our intentions. If it's a good intentions, then it brings a good results. And if it is a bad intention, you are doing an action, then it becomes bad results. And not only this, results we can understand, the action also create impressions. Now, good actions are creating good impressions, bad actions are creating bad impressions. These impressions are nothing but the samskaras. And the sum and total of these impressions is what character, as our character, so our personality. So that means we have to take care that we should do right work, right actions, right thoughts, so that it creates a right impressions which is conducive to our spiritual life, and it is helpful to progress in our spiritual life. So for that, Patanjali and Sankhya philosophy both they say how to do that: increase the sattva guna, reduce rajoguna, reduce tamoguna, increase the sattva. This is what their scheme of sadhana krama. Every philosophy has got their own style of sadhana. So for them, so reduce tamas by increasing rajas, reduce tamas, reduce lethargy, reduce laziness, reduce what you say postponement. Let me do tomorrow. Let me do tomorrow, like that. So reduce that laziness by increasing the tamas. Sorry, rajas. How? Being active, by being responsible, by taking care of things. Okay. Then slowly reduce the tamas by increasing the sattva. Let me think God and God alone. Let me have a simple life, simple living, high thinking, and let me increase my japa, increase my meditation, or whatever. So, increasing the sattva, then we can reduce rajas. Then, increasing sattva, it gets completed, then that itself will take to the moksha or mukti or kaivalya, according to the Sankyans and the Patanjali yogis. So when the chitta has been completely dominated by the sattva, that will help us to go to the samadhi, asampragnata samadhi. Then slowly through viveka khyati, it comes to asampragnata samadhi. That I will discuss in detail, maybe in later. Okay. Now there are two categories. One is detrimental in nature, the other is non-detrimental in nature. Fine. But the five states of the mind, or rather the five functions of the mental state is being told like in the sixth sutra: pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, smrutayaha. Pramana means what? Instrument of right knowledge. Viparyaya means error. Vikalpa means imagination, daydreaming, fancy ideas. Then Nidra, sleep. I don't think we have to go discuss about this. Then Smrutayaha is what? Memory. So there are five vrittis, five mental fluctuations. Mental thoughts are nothing but right knowledge, error, imagination, sleep, and memory. Now, according to the Patanjali and the commentator Vedavyasa and the sub-commentators like Vijnana Bhikshu, not Madhusudan Saraswati, sorry, Yogananda Aranya, all of them agree that our mental fluctuations, whatever the mental thoughts, can be categorized in any only in five. Apart from this, there is nothing else according to that, which is quite interesting. So these vrittis are binding the Purusha to the world actually. So Patanjali says that human mind consists of these only five states at any given moment. Now, first one is what? Pratyaksha. So commentators also they don't discuss much because in next sutras they are going to discuss in detail every one. So they mention it and they go to the next sutra in the seventh sutra. In the seventh sutra, what is pratyaksha has been told. What is pramana has been told. Pramana means it is right knowledge. or it is the means, source of right knowledge. Now, there is a book. Book is there. Where is there? Book is there on the table. Now, book is there on the table. This knowledge has been got. Since it is a factual, so it is the right knowledge. So how did I get the knowledge that there is a book on the table? Because my through my eyes. And I touched the book, and book is so soft. Then I said, there is a book on the table, knowledge. And again, I got one more knowledge. The book is very soft. How? Because I touched through skin, I got that sensation, and I have got a knowledge that the book is very soft in nature. So, this is what all direct perception. So, through eyes, through ears, through nose, through tongue, through skin, whichever I'm getting the information or the knowledge directly through five sense organs of knowledge, they all come under pratyaksha, that is direct perception. I'm seeing it, right? I'm not imagining. I'm not hearing from someone and discussing that, oh, there was a rain, it seems. There is a rain in the Cork. How do you know I am in the Dublin? Because it said, the person who is living in the Cork, he said, I heard, and that's how I got it. It is not like that. So, whatever I am seeing through five sense organs of knowledge directly, they all come under pratyaksha. Now, what is that pramana here? It is because the eye, the direct sense perception. Then there is a different, there is a second instrument of knowledge which is called anumana, which is inference. The standard example in Indian philosophy has been given Parvato Vannima. There is a fire, there is a forest fire on the hill. Are you able to see? No, I'm not able to see the fire. Then how can you make a statement there is a fire on the hill? Oh, that is because I am seeing the smoke. Okay, come on, my dear. You are seeing the smoke, and how can you say that there's a fire on the hill? Oh, that is because there is a concomitant relationship between the cause and the to be proved or to be the hetu and sadhya. They say that is between the to be proved and with the example which I am seeing. That means why? Because of course in India in the olden days in the kitchen they used to use firewood for cooking. So when they use firewood for cooking, what they used to see? They used to see fire and as well as the smoke. So as a result, there is an understanding that wherever there is a smoke, there will be fire. As we see in the kitchen, we used to see in the kitchen. So similarly, because there is a smoke on the hill, so I am deciding, I am inferring that there is a fire. Without fire, there will be no smoke. So yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanhi. That's what the statement gives. Means wherever there is smoke, there will be fire. So here it is what anumana. Anumana means inference. So these are epistemology actually. It is a knowledge. How do I get a right knowledge? This is very interesting, very technical also. When we read this philosophy in deep, there are six pramanas actually. We discuss in deep and each pramana, whether it is right or not. Some accept few, some accept, some doesn't accept few. And you are right, I am right. They will have a lot of logical and philosophical debates. So, but just I'm giving a simple analysis here. So Patanjali accepts pratyaksha, direct perception. Anumana means what? Inference. Anu means after. Mana means what? Measuring. Measuring after what? Measuring after the sense perception. I perceive few things. Based on that, I measure and I decide. I perceived the smoke, and based on that, I decided there is a fire in that. Okay. So right knowledge, pramana means what? Right knowledge. Prama means right knowledge. Prama means right knowledge. And pramana means instrument for the right knowledge. So there are three instruments for the right knowledge according to the Sankyans and the Patanjalis. The one is pratyaksha, the sense perception. The second is inference. And the third is agama. Agama means verbal testimony, Vedas, and also Aptavakyas. Shruti and Aptavakyas both are considered as verbal testimony. Now, for example, Patanjali here, or any sage who has experienced the Purusha, he is telling something, this is called Aptavakya, then we accept. So either it is in the Vedas or in the Shruti, in the Aptavakyas, both are considered as the Pramana, as an instrument of knowledge according to them. So Agama, in Agama there are two things. One is Shruti, the other is Aptavakya. So, because Patanjali says they are trustworthy people, so they don't have any selfish interest, their mind is clear, their senses are pure, their mind is pure, and they're getting the knowledge. So, we have to believe in their experiences. That is what the yogi perception they say, Aptavakya. Okay, so now pramana over, the first type of mental fluctuation. All in our day-to-day things we are seeing and we are hearing, we are talking and we are responding, all these things based under, generally if it is the right knowledge, then it is coming under pramana. Now the second is there is a error. You say that there is a book. Someone said, no, there is no book. How can you say that there is a book on them? Because I saw the book on the table. Then the other person says, yes, I also went to that same room. I didn't see the book. Now there is a confusion now, whether there is a book on the table in the particular room or not. Because one has seen, the other has not seen. Then both of us we said, okay, all right, come on, we'll go and see. Then we went into the same room and we saw if there's a book on the table, the person who has seen that he is right, the other is wrong. And if there is no book on the table, then it is the person who said there is no book on the table, he is right and other is wrong. Now, how to define what is right knowledge, what is wrong knowledge? Again, in the philosophy, there are a lot of discussions. It happens. Swata pramanya, parata pramanya, and all they go all that. I'm not going through that. Don't get worried. Just I will tell what is the error here. Theory of error. Theory of error itself is a very big subject in the philosophy. There are different. What are the reason for that? What is the cause for that? What is the reason for it? What to be accepted? What not to be accepted? There are a lot of discussions in the theory of error itself. Now, viparyaya means for them it is viparyaya mithyagnanam atadrushti pratishtitam. What is viparyaya? What is error? In the 8th sutra, Patanjali discusses. Viparyaya means error, mithyagnanam, false knowledge, atatrupam. Atatrupam means incorrect form, pratishtitam, established in. Means error is false knowledge stemming from the incorrect apprehension. So Patanjali gives a very simple and straight answer for this, which can be corrected by the right knowledge. That is what the false knowledge. Okay, what is right knowledge? Already we have seen. And the standard example, our snake never dies and our rope never breaks. The snake in the rope. A person in the less light, he saw a rope and he mistook it for snake. And he shouted, oh, there is a snake, there is a snake. And people came with the torches and people came with the stick or whatever. Then when the torchlight was shown towards the corner where people saw the, when they saw, then they found out it was only the rope, it is not a snake. So a person who had a knowledge of a snake, it was contradicted, it was removed by the right knowledge, the rope knowledge. So the wrong knowledge or the false knowledge can be corrected by the true knowledge. And interestingly, either Patanjali or one of the commentator, very interestingly, they gave one of the example. Now it is a evening, late evening, so there is a moonlight. A fellow went to the shop and he consumed alcohol. In the drunken state, he came out and he started saying that there are two moons, there are two moons, there are two moons. This example is given very interestingly. But there are two moons which cannot be accepted because others are not perceiving it. And the same fellow who was telling the two moons, when his drunken state comes down, he himself will be able to understand. He will be able to say that there were no two moons, there is only one moon. So false knowledge can be corrected by the right knowledge. So that type of knowledge, it is a knowledge, no doubt, but it is a wrong knowledge or viparyaya. Now the question might come. These are all very interesting and simple, Swamiji, which we all know that why Patanjali is telling all these things. When these things is being connected, this will be connected to the deep philosophical truths. When these things comes to, for example, world is an appearance. When Advaita Vedanta says, how can you say that world is thing? Because you are not seeing as it is. Then the other says, no, I'm seeing a stone. Will you say that the stone is wrong or it is not a right knowledge? Then the Vedantin says, yes, my dear, it is not the right knowledge. Then they bring their theory of knowledge, theory of errors and all. Now it is looking very simple because just I'm at the surface level I'm speaking. When these concepts are being linked to the philosophical discussions, these will take very serious turns. Means they have got very deep insights and very deep understanding about them. Now, vikalpa, now pramana over, right instrument of knowledge over, and error also over. Now the third phase of the mind, or third fluctuation of the mind, we are trying to see in the ninth sutra. Shabdagnanupati vastushunyo vikalpaha. Shabdagnana, the words of knowledge or words knowledge. Anupati. Anupati means resulting from. Vastushunya, devoid of actual object. Vikalpaha, conceptualization, imagination. There is no thing, but we are imagining that there is a thing. I mean, though the regular commentators they don't say, but the modern commentators say that it is. They give an example of daydreaming. I'm dreaming like I'm in the heaven, or I'm in the Disney park. Someone is imagining actually. Someone is dreaming. So all type of daydreamings and unnecessary imagination where there is nothing things. So this all comes under vikalpa. So this imagination consists of, I mean, there is no actual object, but we are imagining that there is an object. So this is what one. But very interestingly, when you go little deep, Patanjali and the commentators like Vedavyasa, Vijnana Bhikshu and all, they say it is not simple that all metaphors, similes, and our day-to-day, some of our day-to-day experiences also comes under Vikalpa. How? They give an example of sunrise and sunsets. There are beautiful poems I've written about sunrise and sunsets. When we hear, we also enjoy it. And we go sometimes hundreds of kilometers just to see sunrise and sunset. Is the sunrise and sunset true or false? We all know that there is no sunrise actually, there is no sunset actually. Because sun is there always, only the earth is rotating, sun is not rotating. But I mean, the sunrise and sunset, it is only, the example is given for the Vikalpa is sunrise and sunset. And one more, modern commentators in the Western country, they give time flies. Does time has got wings to fly? No. Of course, it is a usage, no doubt. But time flies. People, they may create an imagination for all these things. So the modern commentators, they give these examples. So, I mean, the difference between the second and third mental fluctuation is, in the second, actually, there is nothing actually. In the third is, it represents that there is a meaningful expression in the mind to the listener, but without being pursued any error or attracting any attention. There is no thing actually, but I'm imagining that there is a thing and I'm speaking very sensibly actually. That is the difference between the second mental fluctuation and the viparya and vikalpa. So there is a very fine difference actually. Okay, now we will go to the fourth one, nidra, sleep. Abhava pratyayalambana vrittihi nidra. Oh, it is very interesting, Swamiji. So is then Patanjali saying that how can we get deep sleep? Whether does he discuss anything? Let us see. Abhava pratyaya, absence of cause, absence of content. Alambana, the support. Vrittihi, state of mind. Nidra, sleep. So the deep sleep state, or the deep sleep is that state of mind which is based on any absence of any content. For example, I am talking on the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, you are hearing. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra is the content of your direct perception, sense perception through the ears. Or my words is the content of your sense perception at the given point of time. Okay, now in the dream, the dream, for an example, you have gone to your office and you are working because there is a last moment or there is a project or whatever project launch is going to happen. So there your office work or your office is the content of your experience, mental fluctuation. Now in the deep sleep, that is sushupti, there is no content at all available to the mind. So Patanjali Yoga Sutra gives very beautiful analysis of the deep sleep, which is very quite interesting, quite rational, and it is better than Vedantic explanation, according to me. This is my personal opinion, of course. Why? Because they bring a very radical and very rational analysis about the nidra. Let us try to understand. Now, for the Vedantins, actually, if you see, in the deep sleep, there is no mind. In the waking state, for them, they have got sense organs and the mind. And in the dream state, there is only mind, sense organs are inactive. And in the deep sleep, neither mind nor sense organs of knowledge are active, only consciousness exists. Okay, fine. Now, when the question comes, okay, your mind is inactive, your sense organs are inactive, which is both are required for the perception, for the worldly experience. Now, in your deep sleep, when there is no mind, when there is no deep sense organs active, when you get up, it is everyone's experience that I had a good sleep. I didn't had a good sleep. If your mind is inactive and your sense organs are inactive, where did you get the knowledge? Where did you get the knowledge that I had a good sleep? Because no mind, no vritti. Without vritti, no knowledge is possible. Even you also accept like us. So Patanjali yogis, Patanjalas or Sankyans, they put a straight question for them, and Vedantins will have a very tough time there to answer. Okay. Now, what the Patanjali Yoga and Sankhya says, or the Patanjali Yoga says, they say, interestingly, for them, Nidra, the deep sleep, is also a mental fluctuation, which makes quite sensible. Though afterwards Vedanta is very beautifully they refute it, that is different. But for the Patanjali yogis, even the deep sleep is also a vritti, a mental fluctuation. Why? Otherwise, I cannot say that I had a good sleep. So here, what is the content? There is no content. There is no content for the mind, but still the nidra itself is a mind fluctuation. It's a fluctuation of the mind. Otherwise, we couldn't had a knowledge about had a good sleep. They say memory is what? The product of the samskara, and the samskara is what? Caused by experience. So there, I had an experience of deep sleep, and the deep sleep experience has created a samskara, and that samskara has created a memory, and based on that memory, I have got a knowledge that I had a deep sleep. It is not a direct perception, no doubt. There is no content is there, no doubt, but still there was an experience. Because of experience, impressions has been created, samskara, and because of that samskara, memory is there. That is the very interesting analysis of the deep sleep state. And not only that, the deep sleep state, a deep sleep is also a mental vritti, mental fluctuation, a type of mental fluctuation according to the Patanjali. So he argues, and Vedavyasa, the commentator, also makes that in the deep sleep, what happens? There is a memory of the deep sleep. As a result, when I come to the waking state, when I get up, I say that I had a deep sleep. And how did I get that experience? Because of the mental fluctuation, which has based on the experience, it has created a memory. Based on my memory, I've got a knowledge that I had a good sleep or deep sleep. And they also say that dream state does not come or does not fall in this category. Why? Because in there, your mind is active and it is, they give a very interesting analysis that deep sleep state is been dominated by tamas. So our buddhi is been covered by the tamas completely, say 98%, 99%, or 99.99%. Whereas in the rajas, it is less tamas and more rajas. That's why mind is restless there. That's why mind is active there more. So in the dream, rajas is more active than tamas, but in the deep sleep, it is completely dominated by tamas and tamas alone. It covers the sattvic nature of the mind, which is buddhi. Now, many people say that there is a lot of similarities between samadhi and between the sleep, nidra. Is it so? They say it is not. It might look, but it is not. Why? In samadhi, what happens? Sattva is at its maximum state. Maximum condition is what? Sattva is at maximum, it is at peak in the samadhi. Whereas in the nidra, tamas is at pradhana, where it is at its peak. So how can both are alike? It cannot be. And in the samadhi, it is a wakeful state, but here it is not the wakeful state, the nidra. So both are different, polar of opposites. Though they look same, similar, but they have got polar of opposites according to the Patanjali. Then how do I get a rest? Or how do I get refreshed in the deep sleep, if you ask? That is because our body is at rest and our mind is more or less without any content. It is its actions are very minimal and it gets enough rest, and they will give some other explanations. Now, the last type of mental fluctuation, that is smruti or memory, let us try to understand. Anubhuta Vishaya Sampramoksha Smritihi. Anubhuta Vishaya means experienced sense objects. Asampramosha, not slipping away or retention. Smritihi, memory. So, memory is the retention of the sense objects that have been experienced. I think which we all understand. We don't need much explanation here. Now, the mind is experiencing an object, that is what the content, that is called pratyaya. So, the content of the vritti is what the pratyaya, and that is what Vishaya. And already I've experienced it, and now it is again been recalled, remembered, that is what called memory. For example, oh, you are that same fellow. I met you in the few days before, isn't it? So I had a direct sense perception that I had met you, and that that experience or that thought has created an samskara. Samskara was stored in my mind, in my subconscious mind. Then when I saw the particular person, immediately that memory pushed the thought. It gave the information that, oh, a few days before you met him, such and such a person in such and such a place on such and such a date. So here our experience has been recollected or reconnected. So for them, in the memory, interestingly, Patanjali makes two differences. One is in the memory, it can be real and it can be imaginary. So a lot of dream interpretation has been taken from this one sutra actually. Because memory is real. When I met a person, now I'm able to remember. Now I had seen rose flower, and now again I'm seeing a rose flower, and I'm able to say this is rose flower. Why? Because of my experience. I ate a new thing like maybe a burger yesterday, and today someone else gave me the burger. Then I'm able to say it is burger. Why? Because based on my experience. Now, I had a very weird dream where it is neither pizza nor burger, but it is a mixture of some all these things. So we all get this type of dreams in our life, isn't it? So why that is imaginary, that is not real. Then they say, why we do get it? It is all mixture of the with these mental fluctuations. I've got different experiences. The experience has left different samskaras. All these samskaras sometimes get jumbled up, and a product has been formed based on our memory. That is what imaginary. So now very well we can understand how we get some weird dreams. I get a dream of a person or of a place or of an incident which I've never seen in my life, which I don't remember that I've seen. I've seen any person, place, or an incident. That's the one thing that based on our previous lives. And now, very interestingly, which cannot happen, such things also we see. That is all because of this jumbled up in our memory. So now these things gives one more very interesting insight is what all our experiences have created an impressions, and all impressions are stored in our subconscious mind as a memory. So from my birth to now, whatever I've experienced, everything is in my subconscious mind. If I am able to remember means what the thought, the that experience can come from subconscious mind to conscious mind, then I say that I am able to remember, I am able to recollect. If I am not able to remember, that is in subconscious mind. And there are a lot of yogic practices by doing, you can pull out every experience and you can remember not only in this life, even in the previous lives. Say, I want to know in my last life what I was, whether I was an animal, whether I was a bird, or I was a human being, what I did, what was all things. Everything can be what you say deciphered or taken away from our mind because everything has been stored in our mind. So these are the five states, or not five states actually, five phases of the mind according to them. So they are all bind. They will all bind us to the world actually. And these are all based on this raga, dvesha, and agnana, and all these things. Now, after explaining these five states of mind, then from the next sutra, Patanjali explains how to control the mind. He says that Abhyasa Vairagya Tannirodha. Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha he spoke, isn't it? Now there are the five phases of the Chitta he spoke, which are detrimental in our to our yoga. After speaking, okay, now these are the five fluctuations of the mind you have told, which are not conducive to spiritual life, you said. Now, how to control them? If you ask, he tells, yes, my dear, I am going to tell you now that is Abhyasa and Vairagya. Abhyasa is what? Practice, and Vairagya is what? Detachment. And he gives a very beautiful explanation about Abhyasa and Vairagya, by which one can have a control over the mind or mastery over the mind. Now, this Abhyasa and Vairagya is for the Uttama Sadhakas according to the Patanjali. If you are Madhyama Sadhaka or if you are the beginner, then for you it is not. Your mind is already well cultivated. Your mind is well refined already. You have got enough mental control, mind control, and all. For them, Abhyas and Vairagya is okay. Otherwise, then if you are mediocre, then for you Kriya Yoga. The Kriya Yoga, many institutions today they are teaching. I'm not speaking of that Kriya Yoga. We will discuss in the Kriya Yoga what does it mean. If not, if you are not even mediocre, you are beginner and etc., then for them it is Ashtanga Yoga. For the beginner, it is Ashtanga Yoga. For the mediocre, in the middle, for them, it's Kriya Yoga. And for the best spiritual aspirants who have got enough control already to larger extent, mind refined, mind purified, etc., for such people, it is Abhyasa and Vairagya. So, this is what the scheme, sadhana scheme, spiritual practice scheme, schematic representation according to the Patanjali Yoga. So, let us try to understand Abhyasa and Vairagya in our next class. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.